Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Before we begin, please silence your phones and please make sure that those are off. We are going to start with a moment of silence, and please join me if you would like for a moment of silence. Thank you so much, and if you're able, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Smith, announcements?
Good evening, everybody. Just a few announcements this evening. Wanted to remind everybody about our ongoing branding initiative. We're asking the community to help tell our story and tell us who we are, and we need your help and participation to ensure the story we develop as this branding initiative is authentic and accurate and true to who we are. You can participate by visiting definehuntersville.com to learn more about the overall branding initiative and take our branding survey. Leaf season started today, and that will run until January 15th. So residents can place 10 bags of leaves next to their yard waste cart at the curb for weekly collection. You can't place any more than 10 bags or they will not collect them. And as a reminder from Public Works, if your garbage gets picked up and your bags don't get picked up at the same time, they're likely sending another truck along to pick up those leaves for you. So don't panic if they don't pick up your leaves at the same time as your garbage. And as a reminder, leaves must be in clear plastic or brown recyclable bags to get picked up. You'll hear more about this later from our Greenway Commission, but we're having a Biketober block party this Saturday, October 19th. It'll be from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at 760 Craftworks. And then we're also having Halloween in Huntersville on Sunday, October 27th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And that'll be at Huntersville Athletic Park. There will be a costume contest, games, food, music, and more. Applications are open for our 9th annual Veterans Day Parade. That Veterans Day Parade will be held November 9th, 2024, from 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. And promptly at 11 a.m., there will be a ceremony honoring our veterans in Veterans Park. You can visit huntersville.org to learn more and apply to participate in the parade. Also wanted to remind everybody that we have a 3-day community workshop coming up to explore the redesign of Maxwell Avenue. It'll be various events and times across each day on October 17th, 18th, and 19th. And this is a step in implementing our downtown plan that we've adopted. To learn more, it's right on the homepage of our website, so visit huntersville.org and you can read all about it. And as a general reminder, all the ways you can connect with us, you can visit us online at huntersville.org, sign up for our newsletter, follow our social pages, or download our app. Any questions? Perfect, thank you.
Okay, we're on to item 6A, the Greenway Trail and Bikeway Commission update. Chair Ken Stewart.
Good evening, everyone. I appreciate you giving me a chance to speak to you and give an update on the Greenway this evening. And I want to start out, I want to thank the current and past mayors, commissioners for all the support. Y'all have been really supportive of the Greenways currently and over the years, and just want to thank you for that support. We're going to need it going forward as well. I think I've met all of you, but I'll give you just a brief background on myself. I moved here about 4.5 years ago when I retired, after I finished up a career in forestry. And my wife and I have always wanted to be involved in whatever community we lived in. We heard about Huntersville 101, and we attended that. And through that, I found out that there was a Greenway Commission. I thought, aha, maybe I can fit into that. So here I am. And I do have a passion for the outdoors and the greenways, and that's why I got involved. I was fortunate enough to get to work in the outdoors my whole career, and I know a lot of people don't get that experience. And in a metro area that I've never lived in, a metro area before, I've always in rural or small town, and I thought, what a great way to help other people have exposure to that. So that's why I got involved. So we'll start out This is just a map that kind of shows the Greenway system, and it's in various stages, as you'll see. The green areas show the areas that are complete now and has the mileage of each section. So we have 4.1 total miles that are complete. And then the blue ones show what is currently under construction, and that's mainly out there on the McDowell Creek Greenway. And there's 4.2 miles there that should be complete. The first phase, the lower part, should be complete fairly soon. They're waiting on some materials there to finish that. And then the orange ones, all those areas have been approved. They're in some stage, the planning stage, and they've all been funded. So all those are coming in the next couple of years. And then we've got some purple ones, and these are areas that our Greenway Commission identified as gaps in the system that we needed to work on to get completed, to connect everything up. And we prioritized those at the end of last year, and the one in the middle there, which is the downtown area, was by far our top priority. It has to connect everything, and we want the Greenway to connect the downtown to the businesses and places that folks want to go. You know, they want to get on the Greenway and walk, or on their bike and ride down to the coffee shop or the restaurant or whatever. So we put that as a top priority, and we'll talk about that more later. The other ones out to the west would kind of get us connected into the nature preserves that are out that way. So we felt like that was important. And then to get us all the way east to west, out to the east would connect us out to the Skybrook area. And there's one other small circle up there. It's not critical at this time, but that's where the tunnel will go under 21. And the DOT will do the tunnel when they do the next phase of the 21 widening. And they'll put a connector there, but it won't be a real smooth connection. So when that comes about down the road, we'll need to work on having a little smoother connection there. And this slide just shows the downtown area and the development that's, most of it's well along and well in process. And if I did my math right, there's 267 townhomes, 426 multifamily units, and 11 single-family units. That's a total of 704 units that are coming real soon, and that's approximately 1,900 new people to Huntersville. And as you can see, these are all close to downtown, and that, so this is in there just to kind of emphasize the importance of having this connector through downtown so that all these folks will have easy access to the retail and other things downtown, events at Veterans Park and those kind of things. So we've been talking about this all year and didn't feel like it was really getting moved along much. So we came up and talked about a couple possible routes that we could use for this connector. And what you see on there, the pink, is most likely the existing route, and that's what would end up being used in the short term. There's sidewalks and stuff there in place for most of that. But we think it has several drawbacks. The sidewalks that are along Huntersville Concord Road are not really wide enough to be multi-use. So if you go through there, particularly people on bikes would have to get off and walk their bike through to avoid conflicts with the pedestrians. It is a busy road with high speed and high volume traffic, so it's not a real comfortable and safe walking environment. So we came up with the blue line that's on there as a preferred alternative, and there are probably others, but that's the one we came up with. We think that crossing 115 at a mid-block crossing somewhere would be a lot better than down at a busy intersection. You're not looking in all the different directions. You just got to worry about a couple directions there. When you have that, it would come by Veterans Park and restroom facilities that are there. Good chance the future red line stations, we'd be connected into that. And then the Wooner, I think that was mentioned earlier, it's actually south of there, but we would like to explore the possibility of maybe extending that another block or so north, incorporating the Greenway through that. So that's what we came up with as an alternative route. And what we'd like to see the alternative route for a longer-term solution be something like what the blue line's on there. So a lot of you've probably seen this, all the benefits of the trails and greenway systems. They provide a lot of benefits to the communities and richer lives. One of the most recent studies there at NC State, they did an economic impact assessment on 6 trails and greenways within the Carolina Thread Trail Network. And it showed that there are substantial dollar values for the benefits reflected in the economy, healthcare savings, carbon storage and sequestration, and emissions reduction. And you can see across the bottom, there's a further breakdown for each of that: health, economy, environment, and community. And you see studies all the time, particularly on the health, both physical and mental health, for the advantages of being able to access outdoor spaces. So we just want that section through downtown to be able to flow through smoothly. And then just to kind of summarize this, we don't really want to wait on this. We feel there's some urgency because these people are coming soon. So we'd like to tie that in. We've already got under I-77, so we're connected there. There's a connection through to the downtown Greenway, so we need to get it from the downtown Greenway to where the south prong, Clark Creek, will come out there on, it'll come out on Huntersville Concord there about Hill Street. And so we need to connect to it down in that direction. We'd like to see the staff move forward identifying a connection. So it'd be feasibility of refining the route, which would include preliminary design and cost estimates. The greenways, and it's in the, Alicia mentioned, well, it's in the 2040 plan, and I pulled up the pages just as a reference, and you know, there's a couple things in there that it's the highest rated priority. Well, it's right there. There's 1, 2, 3, and they're all about the same. And the greenways is right there. And it is the #1 requested facility in Mecklenburg County, the greenways. And then it's one of the policies are to create connected, safe, and engaging streetscapes that serve multiple users. So there's a lot of reasons to do this. We want to do it and make it so it doesn't feel like it's just an afterthought and you're just using a sidewalk or whatever. I've been in other towns on their greenways where they've done that and it gets congested. It really feels like, well, I may as well just go walk downtown somewhere. Not really a greenway. We'd like to have it nice so that people come here and get on Huntersville Greenway, come downtown to the brewery, restaurant, whatever, and say, man, Huntersville did that right. So, you know, I'd like to see us do it right. And maybe people will be coming to Huntersville. Well, how did y'all do that? You know, so we like how that came out. And then just a recap of the miles, we've got 4.1 complete, 4.2 under construction, and 6.5 under the planning phase. That'll give us 14.8 miles, which is not bad, but I think Cornelius has about that now. And they have a ratio. I was at one of the meetings, and if I use their ratio, we need about 40 miles, something like that. But anyway, this is a good start. And then I think it was mentioned earlier, the Biketober block party coming up Saturday, 2 to 5. Many of you have been out to the wine and vine events. We decided to change it up a little bit this fall and do this. I think it's going to be a really great event, a lot of activities out there, bike inspections and different things like that, free helmets, I think, for kids. So want everyone to come out and support that. And again, thank you. Thank you for your support and hopefully for continued support. And any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer.
Board, any questions? Commissioner Quarles?
I have a comment. I want to thank you for a very well presented presentation, and I thank you and your team for just the forward thinking. I think you bring value to the town of Huntersville.
Well, like I say, I'm passionate about it. I've got a great commission this year that they're all passionate about it. So we get a lot of good input, a lot of good discussion, get a lot of interaction with the town staff. They do a really great job supporting us. So it's definitely a team effort. It's not me. So anyway, anything else?
Commissioner Bergesman?
Thank you all.
Well, I will,
Stuart? We have more.
Okay.
don't run away yet.
Okay.
But actually, before, I have a question for staff, but before that, Mayor Clark, would it be okay? I see a lot of faces in the room that are on the committee. Would it be okay if we asked them to just stand up so and acknowledge
Members
their
of the
work?
Greenway Trails and Bike Commission, if you'd stand.
Tim and Randy.
Thank you for your service. We appreciate you.
So, I guess for staff, do we have anyone on staff that is already looking into options, or is that something that needs to happen?
Yeah, Mr. Trott, I think he's here somewhere, but he'll be working on it. I sent him an email, I guess, last day, a couple days ago, I guess. Told him to get started on looking at the various options, cost estimates, what's on the ground now, what can be done, et cetera. So he'll be doing basically what Mr. Stewart just asked.
So so I guess if the board has an interest, I mean, I personally feel that this should be priority, not just of the Greenway Committee, but of the board as a whole. So if that's something that other commissioners and the board is interested in, I mean, is there anything that we can do now to support this priority?
Well, I mean, ultimately, we'll have to find out there are several sections. There's no sidewalk, there's nothing. So short term, as Mr. Stewart said, short term is the existing sidewalk we have. But Mr. Trott's gonna look at what can we do to speed this up. I mean, it may have to buy a property. Obviously, if you only have 5 foot of sidewalk, you gotta have more. So those are the sort of things we gotta look at, how much property has to be acquired. Can you look at doing a Vernif to the north, I guess it's called. I want to say Warner.
I'm not the only one that has trouble with that.
So all those things we'll be looking at so that you can make a better decision on what's the potential routes, et cetera.
And there are and I know you're aware, but there are even a couple gaps today, and just getting there on the sidewalk, there's still a couple gaps
That's correct.
would keep you from connecting.
So short term maybe, can we make those connections? It's a short term. But long term, a wider multi-purpose path is what we'll be looking at. But there's going to be land acquisition required on all of those options, and have to be determined whether we can it be done, et cetera. So those are things we'll be bringing back. I can't tell you exactly how long that will take, but we just started that process with Stephen, but we'll get someone to get on it and hope to have some final details, hopefully by, I would say, budget retreat at the latest. So I'm gonna say February timeframe, sort of at the latest, but hopefully a lot sooner than that. I just need to sit down with Stephen and see what we need to do to get a contract started on that and get some information.
Thanks. Yeah, I look forward to hearing back about that. And thank you for a wonderful presentation.
Commissioner Walsh?
Don't run off. I also wanted to thank you for the presentation. On a previous board, I was the board rep to the Greenways and really kept up with things. I know Commissioner Bergsman's doing that, but I'd encourage you guys to come back on a regular basis and give us updates. I think it's very helpful since a lot of things going on in town and we don't want to lose track of it.
We've actually got a kind of a goal to get here at least a couple times a year, and we kind of fell short this year, but we'll.
Or even
try to
every
do
3 months or so would be
If
great.
you'll have us,
We'll be happy to have you.
Come
We're
back and
huge
give
fans
you
of the Greenway.
Okay, thank you.
Don't go anywhere, we got one more.
Okay. I'm glad there's so much interest.
Yes.
Oh, so my family and I ride from the Summerfield Lane quite often, and we've been going to like the events at Veterans Park and to 760 and all the way from the other end of the Greenway. And so I agree with you that there's this intersection right here is quite challenging to get over to Veterans Park, and it's dangerous. I have questions, and maybe this is a Stephen Trott question, but I have questions. Have you looked into the ability, because that's a busy road, to put a crosswalk that's not at an intersection? Like, have you looked at that? Is that safe?
Well, yeah, that's actually what we're proposing, is maybe like come out where the trailhead is now, jog north a little bit on 115, and then have a crosswalk, a mid-block crosswalk, sort of like they put down here near the bottle place and out by the school. So it'd be kind of an on-demand crosswalk as people came through. And with this intersection and the traffic, it may have to be synchronized with the intersection down here, but, you know, that can be done. But cross then and then kind of come across the north end of the new town hall site on back to Veterans Park. And then that's sort of what we envisioned, yeah. Would be another cross. I actually walked this evening as I was coming in, I parked across the street, and as I was waiting to cross, I watched a family come out of the Greenway, a man and his wife and 2 young kids. And they came up there, and I watched them crossing. And it was kind of, you know, they were watching real close, and they waited for the light. But, you know, even with the crosswalk lights, when you're at an intersection like that, so there was cars that had the arrow to turn when they had the light to walk. And so, you know, it's still just it's not the best situation. It's a really busy intersection. We'd really like to cross the Greenway somewhere else.
Yeah, for me, it's getting on the sidewalk with the bikes and people walking, you know, during the events, it's busy, and it's just, you know, trying to avoid.
Well, if you start flowing all the Greenway traffic, but you got a lot of bikes and stuff coming through, and you start flowing that into this intersection, then the regular sidewalks with what's already existing there, and then it just gets even more congested. And somebody on a bike, you know, like I say, they're just going to have to get off and walk. And, you know, I get out and walk a lot in my neighborhood, and what I typically see all the time are young families. You know, there's one parent on a bike with maybe 1 or 2 younger kids on bikes, and then the other parent's got a stroller with a baby and a dog on a leash, and, you know, going down a sidewalk, that's just, you just need a little bit more room for that. And that's what I see a lot, and that, you know, they're trying to get here now, they're trying to come uptown to the ice cream shop or whatever, so we just want to do it right and make it nice for them. Yeah, thanks. Anything else?
All right, thank you. We have a number of public comments this evening, so just want to remind everybody to maintain civility and be courteous to both the speaker and the folks in the audience. We will start off with Terry Placencia. And please remember that after the people speak, please don't cheer or clap. It just helps us keep the flow of business. We have a long agenda tonight, and so please just be respectful of both the board and the people speaking. Thank you.
Good evening.
You have 3 minutes.
I come today with a 911 urgent call to action, a plea for justice and accountability. Members of the Huntersville Town Board, my name is Teresita Placencia. I'm better known as Terry around town. And I stand before you today not just as an individual, but as a voice for every citizen who believes in justice, safety, and the integrity of our communities and institutions. I come to you with a very heavy heart and an urgent plea. For over 2 years, my husband and I have been caught in a nightmare that threatens not only our lives, but the very fabric of the trust that holds our community together. Picture this. You go to work one day, just like any other, but instead of feeling safe, you're sexually harassed. Months later, you're physically assaulted by a manager, your superior. You're reported, believing in the system, but nothing happens. The silence is deafening. Then, in a cruel twist, you're arrested at the very place where you sought help. Your husband, who stood by you, loses his job too. Suddenly, you're not just a victim of a crime, but criminals in the eyes of the law you trusted to protect you. This isn't a plot for a movie. This is my reality. This is my husband's reality today. A reality where Lowe's, a corporation that claims to be a pillar of our community, turns a blind eye to the safety of its workers. A reality where our local police, sworn to protect and serve, seem to protect corporate interest instead of citizens. But our story isn't unique, unfortunately. How many others in our community are suffering in silence, afraid to speak up? How many more must endure before we say enough is enough? This isn't just about me anymore. This isn't just about us, my husband and I. It's about every worker who deserves to feel safe at their job. It's about every citizen who should be able to trust our law enforcement. It's about the Huntersville we want to be. A place of justice, not just a haven for corporate impunity. We've knocked on every door, my husband and I. May I continue?
Yes, you may continue.
Thank you. We've knocked on every door, my husband and I. Filled every report, followed every procedure, made every phone call. And yet, I stand here today, our lives in shambles, our safety in jeopardy, with the very institutions meant to protect us, seeming to conspire against us. So I ask you, members of the board, if not you, then who? If not today, then when? We need action. I plead. We need it now. Please, launch an investigation, an independent investigation into how our case was handled by the Huntersville Police Department. It is in everyone's interest. Review the circumstances of my arrest on December 22nd while at Lowe's. Was justice served, or was a victim further victimized? Establish a citizens' oversight committee for our police department. Trust needs to be rebuilt. And 4, demand accountability from Lowe's. A corporation that ignores the safety of its workers should not be welcome in our town. I stand here today, my voice shaking, but my resolve firm. I'm not just fighting for myself or my husband anymore. I'm fighting for every citizen of Huntersville who deserves better. This is our home. This is our community. And it's time we reclaim it from those who would abuse their power and betray our trust. I implore you, don't let this call for help go unanswered. Don't let our suffering be in vain. Take action, please. Show us that in Huntersville, justice is not just a word, but a promise. I turned 63 years old today. And in almost my 50 years of driving, I've had 2 citations. And prior to this horrible nightmare of these 2 years, I have never broken the law, been arrested, been questioned, or been involved in anything other than a civil servant, a domestic violence advocate, and an advocate for all my friends, neighbors, and community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bill Fountain is next. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, fellow citizens. I'm Bill Fountain, a retired middle and high school teacher. I want to talk a little bit about schools. Remember the emphasis that Martin Luther King placed on character, the thing that people ought to be judged by and not color. Character is one of the essential qualities that determine their moral and ethical actions and reactions. Martin Luther King and our nation's founding fathers understood that character was built on God-given virtues. Rather than building character, I'm seeing that progressive Democrats are dehumanizing our students with initiatives like the new Title IX rule changes and dumbing them down. I mean, just look at some of the black and brown reading and math scores that are within the CMS school system. They use words like data-driven to justify diversity, equity, and inclusion ideology and social emotional learning that undermine merit and morals. I think these just promote victimhood, affirm sexual perversion, and tolerate the disruptive behavior, leaving the students oftentimes confused and disordered. Our CMS school boards' failed DEI and SEL policies aren't improving the student performance. So in consequence, maybe we need conservatives that are going to counter these progressive Democrat policies with men and women, such as like Mark Robinson, Hal Weatherman, or Michelle Morrow, to help return our schools to focusing on merit, moral character, accountability, and the 3 R's. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Bruce Klein.
I'm going to give my time to my fellow resident.
What's your name, ma'am? Did you sign up, Ms. Gould, did you sign up? No. Okay. Well, Mr. Klein is who signed up to speak, so you'll have to, I know, but you have to be the person of record who signed up. You can't switch mid-meeting. But feel free to come up and have your 3 minutes. Okay. Next is Sylvia Gondreau. You have 3 minutes. I apologize for the pronunciation of your name.
All right, so your little beeper scares me, so I'm going to go fast.
You have 3 minutes to take them all.
My name is Sylvia Legendre. I live in Oak Farm, 14013 Pinole Pine Circle in Huntersville. This is in relation to R2404. I believe that's 10D on your agenda. So I wanted to just talk about 2 points, and they're about traffic. Unfortunately, you get to hear more about traffic. So it's specifically, I'm going to break it into 2. We'll talk about the state level at first. So this is specifically about the mile between Electric Cities and Symphony Park. 2 years ago, there were 2 public road accesses within that mile onto 73. There is the commercial building and then the church, which would only be Sundays. By probably within the next 6 months, this is going to triple. Already there is 5. There's Symphony Park. The church is now a school, so that's 5 days a week. There's the entrance to Oak Farm, which will also be the commercial services to Lot D. There's a new entrance to the storage unit, which will be Lot C. There's the commercial area that was expanded, and we've seen a huge increase in transport trucks. And then there's the entrance to Northbrook, which will also be the commercial service to Lots A and B. So if you are driving on a 55-mile road and you have to make a left-hand turn, this is an S turn in this 1 mile. You come to a stop and you're trying to turn left, these cars are coming at you. It is terrifying. To slow down and turn into any one of these driveways, you have to slow down. Really, you want to slow down to 20 miles an hour, You're terrified of the people coming behind you that are going 55, so you try to take these corners at like 30. It is just really, really terrifying. I understand this is a state issue. I also understand that NCDOT doesn't like to do anything until something's at its worst point, but that cannot be our bar. What can we do? Who can we talk to as a community, Oak Farm and Northbrook, to get in front of someone that knows the secret sauce to make some temporary changes until this is rectified in a couple of years? So that's the state. Quickly then, on the community, our two communities are being used as cut-throughs. Waze sends them through there now. Our neighbors do it, I do it. If I don't want to try to turn left onto 73, I go out the back way. I'm cutting through my neighbors. We have speeders, we have people that are not stopping at any of the stop signs. This is constant. So again, who on the board can help our two communities make changes on our town roads to make them safer as well? So that's all I'd like to say, and thank you for your time. And I beat the buzzer. Woo!
Thank you. Next, I have Will DuPriest, and is Kathleen McHale here still? Okay. And Christine DuPriest, are you here also? Okay. So you have 9 minutes, Mr. DuPriest.
Okay, good evening, board members. Concerning project 2404 Northbrook Storage. We've come a long way since the community meeting on June 24th. Town commissioners engaged and guided a conditional reclassification that I personally see.
It's not you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. We've come a long way since the community meeting on June 24th. Town commissioners engaged and guided a conditional classification that I personally see as, for the most part, an acceptable outcome for the general good. It's appreciated. The rezoning and conditional classification process has been excruciating for the impacted citizens. It can be better. There remains one issue left, and it's the residential road safety. First, talking about the process. Lack of clear guidance of the process steps, low transparency and misinformation in the project submissions, missed deadlines, last-minute verbal changes before and during official meetings, and a process structured for one-way communications led to mistrust, frustration, and an adversarial atmosphere for the residents. I have ideas on how to improve the process, which I would like to send to you by separate email tomorrow. But we all managed to get through it with a reduced list of allowable uses. The residents' outrage and the planning staff's intervention resulted in not only unfit SP, but also CB uses being excluded. 3 remain which we would prefer be excluded, and we mentioned those in our letter to you last week. The required screening and landscaping, particularly on Lot C, were finally reflected in the site's plans for residents to see. The developer made concessions to plant trees on the HOA property to further screen the development, and the developer offered to assist the Northbrook HOA in improving the maintainability of the walking trails. These are all positive results that I hope get reflected in your decision tonight. But there's one elephant left in the room: residential road safety. Not necessarily an outcome of the rezoning, but of the development, is the additional traffic that will transit through the neighborhoods to and from McCord Road and Sanford Road. And these folks are usually in a hurry. I hear some deflective responses to this issue. 1, All town roads are public roads, open to all drivers. Yes, and the town has a duty to render all town roads to be safe roads. We're talking about people driving 30, 35, 40 miles an hour on residential roads. This is dangerous, maybe like a Greenway crossing an otherwise busy road. Number two, some emergency responders may not like speed bumps or other speed calming devices. Those devices may slow their response during an emergency. But we also will avoid incidents where someone gets hit by a driver who didn't have calming devices to slow them down. And one instance has already occurred where somebody was injured. 3, we need to study the traffic before we can fix it. You want us to trust you tonight in making your decision on this case. Trust us. There have been several instances of property damage and a person injured. It will happen again and again without intervention. It doesn't take a traffic study for us to see that. Number 4, drivers speed up between speed bumps. Well, then put them closer enough together to slow them down. The best approach is to commit to do something now. In my career, we called it the New York Times test, or you can call it the Charlotte Observer test. It goes like this: if you decide to not address this issue tonight, and a tragic incident appears in the Charlotte Observer next week, along with commentary that the perception is you didn't act sooner, will you regret the negative public outcry that it will bring? In summary, the current process greatly favors the developers and puts the residents in a position to respond with anger and outrage versus collaboration and informed feedback. We got through it with a solution I believe is balanced for the general good of those involved. Thank you again. The process can be improved. The town board should step up to the road safety issues in our neighborhood before it fails the Charlotte Observer test. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Ed McCormick. And is Chris Jobson still here? Thank you. And Beth McCormick, are you still there? Okay, so you have 9 minutes, Mr. McCormick.
We all set? Ready. Okay. Little change of venue. I was handed a sheet of paper just as I came into the room, and it reflects the opinion and the feelings of residents who I feel are most directly impacted by this change. Those are the people opposite of Lot C. And it basically reminded me once again, they don't support any change to the buffer because it impacts them personally. They pointed out all the dimensions about how close and how far their home is from the trees, from the creek, from the BMPs, and many of you have walked that and looked at it with us. They're also pointed out that many of the trees are dead and falling down. So the buffer that was kind of there when they bought the property is slowly disintegrating. And these residents paid a premium for those lots because Lennar told them there'll be at least another 80 feet always there when they build in front. Well, now the plan is to reduce that by 45, 50 feet. They're never, ever going to want to accept this. And even though Will presented handsomely the fact that we've come to some reasonable places, there's still a lot of people that do not want this at all for some of the reasons that I just stated. Their personal request is don't kill their buffer. That was the little addendum that came to what I plan to talk about tonight. The rest of what I want to talk about comes from the heart, and it will have some repetitiveness, and I'll cut some things out for the sake of time, but it's all about residential, town-controlled roads. Will stated it very, very well. The only add I'll make is take the notebooks, take the studies, take the work processes that you've been using and throw them away. They're not working. It's evident by the people who stand here in front of you saying, people are zipping by my driveway. We have one person that doesn't allow their kids in the front yard anymore out of fear they're going to wind up a statistic or perhaps in the cover of Charlotte newspaper. Something different has to be done. We need to take action. For every study that says speed bumps don't work, there's probably a study that says they do. Mini traffic circles are a calming device, and very few people speed over them, but they're so far apart, there's plenty of room to accelerate between them. As Will said, put them closer together, put speed bumps in. But if we don't make a deliberate change from what our current policies and procedures are, and we continue to approve more and more development, not just what we're looking at, but apartments, townhomes, you name it, going up, there's gonna be a time when someone on this board is gonna have to write that god-awful note. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of the poor child that was wiped out the other day on this road. We see it on the news all the time. Someone has to write that note. We don't need that note to be written in Huntersville. We control our own roads. And until NCDOT, between now and the next decade, finishes on Sam Fur, I say put in speed bumps everywhere. If the residents want them, put them in. When the road's fixed, 73, we can take them back out. But we can't wait for all the repairs on 73 and continue to approve more traffic. The cut-through traffic is bad, they're fast, the police are helpless to do anything about it. They've got their hands full with everything else going on in this town. Get on Amazon.com, you can buy screw-in-the-ground speed bumps, and guess what? Anyone who speeds over them, we'll find them up in cars getting their front end put back on. It's just that easy. We don't need to turn it into a major administrative study, project committees. Let's just do it. And quite honestly, we'll still be connected, but it'll be an aggravating connection, but it'll be an aggravating connection where people have to go slow. And if they don't like it, they can go around it. Stay on Sam Fur, get on Old Statesville. So my plea is, no matter what decision is made tonight, a lot of people are gonna leave here happy, and a lot of people are gonna leave here sad. There's no way everyone's walking out of here feeling like they're happy. That's the human nature, that's the human condition. You can't have everything you want. But if you decide you want to move forward with this, it's got to come with a commitment to do something about the residential traffic that is zipping through our development and the Oak Brook development. We need a change, not a study. Thank you.
And lastly, we have Robin Hahn. You have 3 minutes, Ms. Hahn.
Oh, wait a minute, I want my seconds back. You're not supposed to start till I give you my name. Robin Hahn, Pinole Pine Circle, Huntersville. I'm glad we had that conversation about the greenways and your interest in the safety of the greenways. That's wonderful. Oak Farm and Northbrook community have their own little greenway within their development. It's called sidewalks. And we utilize the heck out of them. We walk. I'm around them 3-4 times a day. I see all my neighbors walking. We want safety too. We don't want people zipping through our neighborhoods. We need you to help us keep our neighborhoods safe. Let us enjoy our exercise and fresh air too. So if you could please work with us, work with the developer. We appreciate everything he's done to keep our community safe. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Ms. Hahn. All right, and now we are on to item number 7, agenda changes and adoption of the agenda. May I have a motion?
I make the motion to adopt the agenda.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Thank you. And now, may I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Motion to adopt consent agenda.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Item number 9, public hearing, to conduct a public hearing on certain properties owned by the town of Huntersville for resale. Ms. Sloop?
Yes, good evening, Board. Do you mind, Ethan, moving the slides forward for me as we speak? Thank you. We have a depiction on the next slide of two properties that the town is currently not using for anything. And the town manager and town board had expressed interest about looking into possible development options for these parcels. And so in order to kickstart that process, we are proposing that the town board adopt a resolution that will designate these two properties, these two small parcels, as being held for resale pursuant to the economic development statutes. If you'll advance to the next slide. This is an aerial overview. You can see that they're located beside of the town center building. There was in the past also a similar interest in potentially having a public-private partnership on these parcels that would be part of a larger development. And the idea for that concept involved a mix of retail and commercial uses. So in approving the resolution tonight, we would be preserving our ability to dispose of this property as economic development property for commercial uses. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I would like to also point out that this is not approving a sale of the parcels. This is just approving the ability for the town to seek proposals and ideas about potential development for these parcels, and that if the town did decide to move forward with an additional, with an actual purchase agreement, there would be an additional public hearing process prior to the purchase agreement being executed.
Board, do you have any questions? Mr. Roberts, would you like to?
I think Emily hit it all. I mean, like I say, we would send out, if the board decides to move forward this, we would send out requests for proposals and see what ideas we get. Have no idea what we'll get. May get zero. I don't know. And if I recall, back before I came here, I think in 2017-ish, 18, I think Mayor Annarella may have been the mayor at that time when they hired me. They were looking at disposing of this property and also where you see North State, right behind DPK. And this property at that time, there was no interest. I think they sent it out during the holidays, which probably a lot of people didn't want to send a proposal at that time. And we looked at it again back in 2018. That's how North State started. And then sort of similar process, 760. The town used to own that building where 760 Craftworks is. We went through a similar process, not the exact same, but a similar process. We got multiple proposals, and we ended up going with 760, negotiated that out, and sold that property 760. That's where 760 is now. So, like I say, it's just the beginning of a process to see what kind of proposal we get. It has to come back to the board. We have to have more public hearings, et cetera, if we get down that path. So Emily did a great job explaining it.
Commissioner Hunt?
So if this is approved, can you talk about the time frame? Like how long might all of this take?
So as of right now, if you approve the resolution to designate them as being held for resale, I believe that the plan, and Bobby can correct me if I'm wrong, is to have the RFP, the request for proposals, out for about 45 days. And then we'll have to also, if the town did decide to move forward, call for that second public hearing, negotiate the terms of a purchase agreement, and also have the town approve the purchase agreement. So you're looking at 45 days minimum for the proposal. We could end up extending it if we do not get many responses due to the holidays coming up. And then you're looking at probably another couple months from there to hammer out all the details of any purchase agreement and also get the proper notice for the public hearing that has to take place.
Any other questions? Commissioner Wilkerson?
Yeah, I just have two things. I just want to clarify for the public that this is designating as a potential for commercial, not mixed use.
Correct. It would be for commercial. Under the economic development statute, this disposal method is used when you are holding and reselling property for industrial or commercial uses. Due to the size, this would not likely be a fit for industrial, so it would be commercial uses.
And then, this might be an Anthony question. If the board would want to have, like, an opportunity for more public input, like you say, we receive multiple applications, and we would like to hear from the public in addition to a public hearing. Where in the process could that, like, how could that, what would that look like?
So if we've got multiple proposals, I mean, ultimately, you could have them come present. I mean, so there's all sorts of ways. You could have them come present their proposals, so you could ask questions. I don't know, one wants to do medical offices, I'm making up stuff here. One wants to do a food court, whatever. You could have them make that presentation to the board, have it available to the public, and just to gather more feedback and have input from the public, and then make a decision from there. So there's all sorts of ways you can handle it.
And of course, they would be able to speak at the second public hearing as well if anyone wanted to provide additional commentary.
Any other questions? I just had one clarifying question is, this is just offering this piece of property for potential use. It does not legally bind us to sale or settle. So if nobody submits a proposal we like, we can just decline and not do anything. Is that correct?
So in the language of the request for proposals, the RFP, we have included language in there that the town board reserves the right to reject all proposals and or utilize a different disposal method for the properties.
All right, any other questions? Okay, we will move forward to item 10A. Consider adopting a resolution approving property to be held for resale. There are no public comments.
All right, so at this point in time, I would ask you all to make a decision about whether or not you would like to adopt the resolution to hold this property for resale.
May I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution approving the property to be held for resale as economic development property under NCGS 158-7.1.
May I have a second?
Second it.
Any discussion? And I'll just add as just part of discussion, this is part of our larger plan for economic development in the downtown area. And so we hope that something wonderful comes from this, but if the perfect thing doesn't come, then we will wait for that. So just want everyone, and feel free to weigh in if you have something you're on your wish list. All right, all those in favor of the resolution, please raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Item 10B, consider approving interlocal agreement for the assignment of street addresses.
Good evening. Staff is here tonight for asking for your consideration to approve the interlocal agreement between the town of Huntersville and Mecklenburg County for naming of street addresses. This is a practice that has been occurring since before I came to work here 20-plus years. We're just formalizing the agreement finally.
Board, any questions? Commissioner Bergsman?
I just have one, and it's, you don't have it up, but Section 10, and there was that section on the treatment of non-conforming address numbers, and I was just wondering if there are any in Huntersville that would be considered non-conforming?
Sure. There are some legacy addresses that are still, those are the ones that just have 3 numbers. Over time, those will be all converted over to 5-number addresses, and those folks will be notified in plenty of time to get all their affairs in order. Mecklenburg County has assistance programs to help them, to be ushered through that process.
Okay, so they, because I'm thinking particularly if there are any low-income families, so they would receive assistance in the process and plenty of time.
And we can also help them through that process as well.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Anything else? All right. Do we have a motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement for the assignment of street addresses with Mecklenburg County.
And may I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries unanimously. Item 10C, consider a deferral to November 19th on petition R24-03. Mr. James.
Yes, the applicant has requested a deferral to the November meeting for that one.
Any questions for Mr. James? Okay.
Is there any specific reason as to why we're deferring it, or? if
Yeah,
you
so
could-
after the planning board, there were several items they needed to revise, and there was a lot of engineering involved with grades and whatnot, and right-of-way acquisition, or right-of-way, putting right-of-way on plans and considering the spacing for that. And they have not had the time to revise those plans accordingly.
Any other questions? Okay. All right, may I have a motion for item 10C?
I make a motion to defer petition R24-03 Long Creek Retail to 6 PM on November 19th, 2024 at Huntersville Town Hall.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Commissioner Quarles opposes. Motion carries. Item 10D, consider decision on petition R24-04 Northbrook Storage. Mr. James.
Thank you and good evening. And please enter the staff report into the record for R2404 Northbrook Storage Conditional District rezoning. So just real quick, this is a rezoning from CB to SPCD. And I'm going to run through just some updates since the public hearing. So in the public hearing, as we all know, there was a proposed linear park along Sanford Road that has been taken off per staff's recommendation and planning board's recommendation, and the parcels D and B now will be meeting the ordinance, where parcels A and C have particular uses with modifications involved. So in parcel C for the storage building facility, some updates on that. There has been some evergreen screening added to the back of the buffer and behind the building per request. And that was the only update on parcel C. The buffer modification for reducing the buffer from 80 to 35 still exists. And parcel A has been proposed for a daycare facility. After the planning board meeting, there was some safety concerns along 73 with a daycare playground being at the corner position at 73 and Maple Branch Drive. They have asked for a modification request to make that a side condition and not a frontage condition. And they've added a safety guardrail and additional screening there along Sanford Road. Some more updates, permitted uses. So on the screen, you see the permitted uses that are proposed for A, B, C, and D, where, again, A and C are daycare center and storage facility. One item on the proposed permitted use list that was put back on the uses allowed was commercial communication tower. I believe the applicant just made a mistake and put that on there, and they have verbally agreed to take that off, but I wanted to just update everyone that that is on the rezoning plans now, and we would ask that that be moved back over to the excluded list. After the planning board meeting, outdoor kennels and inns were taken off of the permitted use allowed list and put it on the excluded list. And then going to the 2040 plan, LU 6.1, 8.1, 1.2, all are consistent with the 2040 plan policies, and LU 1.1 still is not consistent. Nothing has changed there since the public hearing. So a little more updates after the planning board meeting. Like I said, kennels, outdoor kennels were taken off the permitted use list. Inns were taken off the permitted use list. There was an agreement to screen the storage facility with evergreen trees that was added and confirmed on the plans for the last revision. The guardrail was added. There is still a pending TIA scoping being reviewed by NCDOT. If there's questions regarding traffic, Stephen Trott with engineering is here regarding some of those items, if those questions do arise. The developer did offer to pave the walking trails and provide benches in the single-family subdivision, and add up to 10 green giant arborvitaes on the private properties to the rear to buffer that rear side against the developing properties. And traffic calming was not discussed in detail, so it was not addressed at the meeting. However, town staff is moving along with that study for proactive traffic studies. And moving to their recommendation, they did recommend approval 7-0 with those conditions added. And moving to staff recommendations, staff does recommend approval with those conditions added as well. And we do request approval for the modification requests, and that any other minor staff comments left on the plan be addressed before the final stamp. The applicant is here with a presentation, but I'm here for questions before that if you'd like.
Commissioner Walsh?
You mentioned that traffic studies are underway. Could we get some more details on that, exactly what we're doing? Obviously came up here this evening as a concern of the residents.
Sure. So a traffic study was done on the initial, I guess the previous site plan for the development. With the addition of the daycare, that changed the scope of the development. And so where they are right now is they have submitted an updated scope to the state for review, and it is currently under review. So a revised traffic study has not been submitted at this time. When I say traffic study, this is for the rezoning development.
Okay, but I understand that the neighborhood made a traffic study request.
A traffic calming request.
Traffic calming request.
Yeah, that's separate and different or independent from the development traffic impact analysis study.
Right.
We are currently, it's next in line to collect data on, to do that traffic calming request in the initial phase.
Commissioner Hunt?
Stephen, since you're up here.
Sure.
So as this pertains to the development, we did ask about reducing the speed limit, right? And then DOT said, not right now. And then we also asked about a traffic signal. Can you share the result of that, please?
Sure. So we followed up the speed limit reduction request with the state with a traffic signal request at the intersection of Oak Farm 73 and Ambassador Christian intersection. They just got back to us and said it's not warranted at this time.
Can you elaborate or explain, like, if you know how they make that decision or what goes into making that decision?
So a few of the things that they look at, they went and collected a traffic count out there to look at traffic volumes to see what volumes were on the main line and also turning movements on the minor street. Those volumes on the minor street were well below the thresholds for a traffic signal. They also looked at pedestrians, where there are pedestrians crossing 73. In the full day's count, there was 0, so that didn't meet there. They also looked at crashes at the intersection over the past 5 years, and they said that there were 0 in the past 5 years at that intersection. So those were all well below the thresholds to warrant a traffic signal.
So is there anything concerned residents can do to reach out to DOT? Any recommendations?
I say everybody's feel free to reach out to DOT directly if they have concerns or questions about it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Quarles?
Stephen, you say the traffic calming request has been put in for the community. How long does that process take? And can you explain to everyone, what does a traffic calming request look for?
Sure. So a traffic calming request, it usually takes several months to get through the process, depending on how many requests we have in at a time. So we only have a certain number of counters to go collect the speed data. So we just put it in the queue as they come in, we get them done. Where this particular neighborhood is in the process is they're next on the list to go collect the speed data. So we put data collectors out to collect speed data for a couple weeks' time to see what the trends are. We look at those results and see if it's above the threshold, then it continues in the process. After that step, we look for the neighborhood to get the word out and try to make folks aware that there is a speeding issue out there. After they've completed those steps, they let us know and provide that documentation. We go out and study it again, have patterns or folks' behavior changed. We also let the police department know, here's the data. If you'd like to do enforcement, then they're welcome to do so. We go out and study it again. If it's above the threshold, then we look at physical solutions to try to calm that traffic. Sure.
Commissioner Dumas?
I actually have a question for Chief. Chief, are you available for a question real quick? I had reached out a few weeks ago and asked to have officers patrol a little bit more frequently in the neighborhood. Do you know if that occurred? To see if anything happened, if there's some speeding tickets, or do you know?
Not off the top of my head, I'd have to
Okay.
recall this.
Okay, but we can make sure that happens in the future? Okay.
Yeah, we can get whatever information you need.
Okay, all right. Let's follow up on that. And then I had one question for Jesse. I just want to clarify, the daycare, we received several emails on this project, but there was a few that referenced the daycare being a concern. But that is by right as currently zoned, is that correct?
That is by right in CB. The thing that is not allowed by right is the corner modification request for the playground that's at the front on Sanford Road. So the modification request is to, like if this parcel was coming in by right and had no rezoning, and they wanted to do the playground where they have it proposed, they would have to come back in for a CD rezoning. So that's what they're asking for a modification request for.
Okay. So if we decline this proposal, there will be businesses coming in, and a daycare is potentially one of them, just they would need to.
With a different site plan. Yeah.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bergsman?
I have a few questions for Stephen. I know you just sat down, sorry.
That's okay.
Do you have more information? So the calming study, which sections of streets or what exactly is included that's being looked at? Which streets specifically?
I don't have the specific calming request on me. Laura with our department is working with that. She works with the neighborhood, and the streets that are requested by the neighborhood are the ones that are evaluated. They have a meeting to look at what locations they feel are the highest speed locations, and we work to study and collect the data at those locations. If there are more streets after that, then we'll continue to work through those as the requests come in.
Okay. And then I was just wondering if it is determined, if the data shows that calming measures are needed. I know our first responders often don't like speed bumps because it can slow down emergency responders, and there are multiple options that we have in, let's say in the toolbox. I feel like there are some that I've seen in other places that we don't do as much here, and I don't know if I'm even saying it correctly, but like chicanes,
Chicanes?
Thank you.
Chicane.
Or like narrowing streets, like I've seen on Winfield Parkway. Are those options that would be considered in addition to?
Yeah, we're going to look at all the options. We're going to look at the characteristics of each street and see what options seem feasible. If the streets are already narrow, really narrow, then narrowing them further probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But we'll look at each street individually and come up with options.
Thank you. And then I had one resident mention to me that there might not be a speed limit sign in that area. Do you know if that's something that we can just double check and make sure that there's a speed limit sign?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then my last thing, the roundabout, that smaller roundabout on, is it Maple Branch Road?
Okay.
I did notice when I went out and met with residents that depending on which way you drive from it, I feel like there is maybe a bit of a visibility issue. Can we do something like put arrows on the road, paint something to make it more visible and help people understand the correct way to use that roundabout?
Certainly take a look and see if there are additional enhancements.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for staff? All right. Mr. Palillo is here to present.
My name is Jake Palillo. I'm the owner of Bipart Development. I want to thank the Homeowners Association and the board for working with us through this project. We've come up to several, several compromises that we're willing to do to help them. We're going to pay them $35,000 for their HOA to work on their trail, and we're also going to work with them some of our equipment and stuff. It's going to need, that trail's a mess. It's really low and muddy and stuff. We're going to give 370 green giant arborvitaes to plant on HOA. I prepared a quick letter here to make sure. I don't know if we'll give it to the board and we'll make it as part of the document. With respect to the traffic concerns, I hear you. I'm with you. If I lived in there, I'd be the same way. The way to fix it is a simple fix, but no one wants to do it. Stop connectivity, okay? When you have your community and stuff, stop the connectivity, stop always, every development we do, there's always has to be this connectivity. They limit the block lengths, they want all this connectivity. When you add connectivity, you add traffic through your community. When you limit the connectivity, you get quieter streets. So that's an easy fix without putting calming device and everything else. Change the code. And this connectivity thing came into about 20 years ago when they wanted to make everything connected. And they think that it reduces traffic and congestion. It doesn't. You know, what it does is it allows a cut through for the people that learn it to run through. So if you wanted one street, Northbrook or one of them, you should have run from Samford to McCord, one street, put your calming devices on that one street. People that live on that street know it's a boulevard, and then the rest of the neighborhood doesn't get it. When you jockey everybody through the community, then you get everybody weaving through there. So with respect to the speed bumps, I'm more than happy to purchase the speed bumps for the community, the temporary ones, put them in, and see how that works, if the town will allow that. So I don't know if there's anything else you want us to go through on the proposal. That you have any questions on the actual plan?
In the staff report, it shows that there's agreement with the screen for the arborvitae trees. I know when I walked through the community and I met with some of the residents, and I thank you for the tour. What color, this may be a crazy question, but what color is the building? Because again, we're trying to camouflage. People don't want to see the building itself. What color is your building going to be?
It said on a plan it's white, but it's never intended to be white. So it's going to either be like a earthy color, like a tan or something, or we can even go to kind of a greenish color so that you don't see it. And then once those arborvitaes grow, it'll take about 3 or 4 years, and they'll be 15, 20 feet. So you'll just see just a little bit of the top. And then with the amount of trees you have going in there and the staggering of them, you're really not going to see the building except for maybe late November when we lose leaves, November, December, January. Typically in February, you start getting your blossoms back on, and by March, you've got green foliage on the trees, so.
Thanks.
Questions? Commissioner Hunt?
Just to make sure I didn't miss it, did you agree to remove the contractor offices, essential 1 and 2 accessories, storage yard, and communication tower?
Yes, that never should have been there. What we did say, though, is that like a contractor's office be allowed, like an office use, but not a contractor's yard where there's outdoor storage. We don't want that, so. I guess you can just call it an office, and if the office user happens to be a contractor, but yeah, the contractor's yard and stuff is all, we don't want any of that.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bergsman?
Yeah, just one question. You had a letter there a couple minutes ago.
I threw it together real quick. We can make it a little bit more formal, but I didn't want to ask the board to make a recommendation with a promise with not having something in writing. So we wrote something up real quick as fast as I could that says that we agree to purchase 376-foot green giant arborvitae be planted on the HOA common area. Or if the board sees, if they say, hey, we want 300, we'll give them $100 for each one we don't plant. And then we'll pay them $35,000 to make the improvements to their nature trail. All of this will be paid by March 30th of next year, as soon as we start the project.
You said March 30th of next year?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you be willing to have that notarized, to have it notarized by the end of the week?
Have it notarized?
Yeah.
If someone's a notary, I'm happy to.
Not right now, but I meant in the
I just
short
wanted
term.
you to have something, give it to the staff and give it to the president of the HOA so that they don't leave here saying, hey, this guy promised us something, and some people on Facebook don't trust me, so I want to make sure I've got a document here.
Any other questions? Okay, any other questions for staff? Like, we have any more questions?
There's, if you want a copy of that.
All right, may I have a motion for item 10D?
I make a motion to approve rezoning amendment petition R24-04 Northbrook Storage to rezone approximately 20.937 acres on Sanford Road from corporate business to special purpose conditional district with the following conditions. The permitted uses for parcels A, B, C, and D are limited to the uses listed in the permitted use table recommended by the planning staff. In addition, communications towers shall not be a permitted use. The buffer reduction modification for parcel C is approved as shown in the plans. The corner lot frontage modification to allow a daycare playground in the front yard of parcel A is approved as shown in the plans. The developer makes any traffic network improvements that are suggested by the NCDOT TIA, which has not been returned yet. The developer shall address all other minor staff comments in the staff report. In considering the petition, it is consistent with policies LU 6.1, 8.1, and EV 1.2 of the Huntersville 2040 Community Plan. It is reasonable in the public interest to approve the petition because it is consistent with future land use implementation policies LU 6.1, 8.1, and EV 1.2.
And may I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
May I make one comment on that motion? In the presentation that Mr. Palillo presented, there was a question regarding essential services 1 and 2 and contractor's office with storage. That is not currently on the rezoning plan. So if you would like to make that motion for those uses to be moved to excluded, then I would ask for an amendment to that motion. If Mr. Palillo is okay with.
Okay, I'll add the essential uses 1 and 2, I think it was, and the contractor's office and storage. Okay.
Any other discussion?
Comment.
Okay, Commissioner Dumas?
I believe every single one of us walked the neighborhood and met with several neighbors, and I just want to thank the neighbors for their respectfulness and their engagement through this process. I think this, while, you know, the traffic is definitely an issue and something that we need to consider, just a little history on this, you know, it wasn't that long ago that that entire neighborhood was zoned as commercial. Thank you. Would I have approved a neighborhood right off of a major thoroughfare like this? Oh, I don't know, but it is our responsibility to make sure that every road is safe. And so we're going to continue that discussion. To me, this is separate from the development use. When we met with residents, I asked the question, or I specifically asked or mentioned that this is the opportunity to determine and to influence the way these businesses will be, because they're coming. Something is coming. Do you want warehouse, or do you want something a little bit different? And I just think that this was an all-around success. While I know several aren't happy with the fact that something's coming, but it's already zoned for something. And this was your opportunity to influence, and you did. You spoke up, you worked with us, and I'm just really impressed by the neighbors in this neighborhood, and thank you for your engagement again. And I want to say thank you to Nick Walsh for taking the lead, Commissioner Walsh, for taking lead on our team to have those conversations and to be the middle person. So I will be voting in favor of this. Thank you for everybody involved.
Commissioner Quarles?
I somewhat want to piggyback on Commissioner Doomer's. I want to thank each resident who emailed us. I thank the residents who met with Commissioner Rivers and myself in your community. I thank the gentleman who walked me through the community as I put on my Air Force boots, walking through the trail. You really educated me on a lot back there, and I thank you. I want to thank Mr. Pillillo. I want to thank Commissioner Walsh. You truly showed your leadership. When this proposal was first initiated, there was a lot of nasties in this proposal. This proposal tonight is not what was originally presented. And as one of the speakers said tonight, the community is pleased with the outcome, with the exception of the road issues. And I trust you that we're going to work on the road issues. We hear you loud and clearly. You've heard every commissioner tonight talk about the road issues, and we understand that, and we will take that serious. For those of you who do not know, Mr. Pillillo, I think this right here is the way that projects that I call not in my backyard projects should be handled. You work with the staff. It wasn't what you presented to us originally. You work with Commissioner Walsh. You work with the neighbors. You made the adjustments. In addition to making adjustments, you offered things that they didn't even ask for. You offered to fix their walking trail. You offered $35,000 in additional trees. You even agreeing to change the color of your building just to camouflage it. So I want to thank you for that. Again, that's my spiel. Again, we hear you as it relates to the traffic. I want to thank this community for your professionalism. You guys were extremely, extremely professional, and we thank you. You have our contact information, and you know that we will respond to emails, and we will park our cars and walk and meet with you. We won't run away from those type of things. And I pray that we can move forward with future projects in Huntersville the way we've done this project here. I will be voting in favor.
Commissioner Hunt?
I don't want to be a broken record, so I'm going to keep this really brief, but I'm not a fan of modifying buffers, so I'm grateful that the developer is willing to plant some evergreen trees to help create that buffer. Thank you to Will and Ed and Robin for taking us for a tour in the neighborhood and for working with your HOA town staff and with us. And then thanks to everyone who was willing to negotiate to come up with something, I think, Will, you said this, something that everyone can be proud of. So thank you for that.
Commissioner Bergsman?
Most of what I wanted to say has already been said. I just want to add, I had said to a few of the neighbors when I went out and walked that, a lot of times that, compromise has been reached when everyone's a little bit unhappy with the result. That you walk away with, some of what you wanted and a little bit of what you didn't want. And I feel that's kind of where we are now. In a better spot, though, than I thought it would be. I, like Mayor Pro Tem Hunt, not a fan of modifying buffers. That is one aspect that I wish there was another way that this project could go forward without having that modification, but I recognize the difficulties with the land and, the shapes. So ultimately, I feel that This was handled very professionally and respectfully and with the input of the community, and I will be voting yes.
Commissioner Rivers?
I've been pretty quiet tonight. My voice is a little raspy, so excuse me. But I want to take this opportunity to thank all of the residents for coming out and speaking in regards and speaking up for your community. That's important. What I will say is to Jake, thank you for being a developer that listens. I know what it feels like to be in a community where there was a developer who came in and did not hear the residents. So thank you for that. My concern, as well as your concern as the residents, was the traffic increase. And again, I know that about that all too well. So I want to commit to ensuring that the traffic issue is null and void in your community, as it is in a lot of other growing communities. So we do, as a staff, need to look at our processes a little closer, just to ensure that our residents are safer. I'd rather for us to be proactive and not reactive. So again, thank you all so much for just coming out, speaking up, and being a voice for your community. Thank you.
Commissioner Walsh?
Rezoning of any kind takes months to go through the process. It starts with plan submissions, onto neighborhood meetings, public hearings, and then onto the planning board for consideration. In this case, it took an extra month due to a deferral. Finally comes to the town board, as it did this evening, for a decision. I also want to thank the representatives of the HOA from both Northbrook and Oak Farm for their positive communications with the town board and the developer during the process. Working together in a spirit of cooperation, we found a way to make this commercial development better. Not everyone got what they wanted, and that was to be expected. Everyone gave a little, and that's how it should work. I think everyone looked for a way to create a win-win situation. In this case, the developer even volunteered to give $35,000 to the Northbrook HOA to help with their trails, which had nothing to do with this rezoning. Huntersville will continue to grow and attract new residents and businesses. When we work together, we truly make Huntersville a great place to live, work, and play.
Any additional comments, board? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Before we go to item 10E, the board is going to take a quick 5-minute break. We will be back momentarily. Right, we will call our meeting back to order and proceed with item 10E, resolution to acquire property necessary for the construction of Gilead Road West project. Mr. Trott.
So the next item up is a resolution to acquire property by process of eminent domain for 2 parcels, which are necessary for the construction of the Gilead Road West project. Just a reminder what the Gilead Road West project is to widen Gilead Road to 4-lane divided, add sidewalk, bike lanes. Where we are in the project is right-of-way acquisition. That's why we're here. We're hoping if we can get through right-of-way acquisition soon, that we can get started on construction next summer. There's the current project estimated cost, and we spent roughly over $2 million to date on the project. So when we do property acquisition, and here's just a picture to show what that project looks like. When we do property acquisition, we try to settle with folks, but unfortunately sometimes there's circumstances where we're not able to. We do an appraisal to try to determine that valuation. If property owners are significantly different, an example would be if the appraisal comes back saying the value of property is $1,000 and the owner's counteroffers $1 million, and they're firm on that, then I'm going to guess we're not going to settle. But that's just one of the scenarios. Sometimes property owners just don't respond. We try to reach out to them, mail them, show up in person, call, and they're just non-responsive. Sometimes people are non-responsive because they don't want to answer, or they could just be out of town, out of the country. But project is pretty much on hold until we acquire all those properties. So there's a couple of properties here that we're unable to negotiate and settle, and so the request is to use eminent domain on those couple of properties on this project.
Board, do we have any questions for Mr. Trott on this? Okay. Commissioner Bursman?
Everything's getting in the way here. No, I just have a comment, not a question. But I just want to say that, when we're asked to use a statutory power of eminent domain, it's something that we all take seriously. It involves a delicate balance between our community's needs and individual property rights. I believe it's our responsibility to be judicious in applying this power, ensuring we act in the public's best interest while being as fair and transparent as possible. This resolution authorizes the acquisition of the remaining parcels necessary for the Gilead Road widening project. It's about making critical transportation infrastructure improvements that will benefit everyone. The Gilead Road West project includes widening Gilead Road from 2 to 4 lanes with the median from approximately the McCoy Road intersection to Winfield Creek Parkway. It also includes improving or adding sidewalks and bike lanes on both sides of the road to address critical safety and connectivity issues. The project is aligned with multiple aspects of the 2040 Community Plan, including Policy T3, improving street and multimodal connectivity, and T4, improving safety for motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists. Improving sidewalks and adding bike lanes will make it safer for pedestrians and cyclists, while the road expansion improves traffic flow for motorists. The project is also aligned with Policy T6 and will help ease the congestion of a known traffic hotspot. I understand that this process can be difficult for property owners, especially when they are affected so closely, and I do empathize with those who are directly impacted.
Any other questions? All right, may I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution R 2024-30 to acquire property necessary for the construction of the Gilead Road West project.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries unanimously. Item 10F, adopt a resolution to acquire property necessary to construction of the Beatties Ford Road Gilead project. Mr. Joe?
Good evening. So Beatties Ford to Gilead project, that's one where add some turn lanes and a traffic signal out at the intersection of Beatties Ford Road and Gilead Road. If you drive out there during peak times of the day, you're probably not driving fast, you're probably sitting there a lot. Trying to get the project underway next summer, And on the agenda tonight are 3 parcels we're unable to settle on. So the request is to use eminent domain to settle those 3 parcels.
Board, any questions for Stephen on this one? No? Okay. May I have a motion for item 10F?
I make the motion to adopt the resolution to acquire property necessary for the construction of the Beatties Ford Gilead Road project.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Item number 11, closing comments. Commissioner Rivers.
Again, I've been limited to my usage of my voice tonight, but I wanted to say happy homecoming to my alma mater, North Mecklenburg High School, who is celebrating their homecoming this week, as well as my college alma mater, North Carolina A&T State University in Greensboro, North Carolina, and to one of the oldest churches here in the town of Huntersville, St. Philip Missionary Baptist Church, just celebrated 148 years of existence. So I wanted to congratulate them all on their homecoming, and I just wanted us to all have a great evening. I have been under a lot of scrutiny, and I wasn't going to speak on it, but my heart has decided to go for it. But the past couple of, maybe 48 hours, Pottstown has been under a lot of scrutiny for having a political party come out and give some information just on early voting, because for the first time ever, David B. Waymer will be hosting early voting. And so they wanted to just come and raise awareness. But I wanted to apologize to the Pottstown community because the scrutiny doesn't come to you all, it's about me. And I sit here and I hold this position with such great regard because I am representing you. So I wanted to apologize publicly to my community and to the Pottstown Heritage Group for receiving such scrutiny, because it is not directed towards you, it is directed towards me. Thank you.
Commissioner Walsh. Commissioner Dimas. Commissioner Hunt.
Since I'm on the HFFA committee, I just wanted to share that this Saturday, there's a dance event at 10:30. So put on your dancing shoes and come dance with us.
10:30 in the morning? That's right.
Excellent. Commissioner Quarles.
I too was not going to mention anything about the Pottstown situation, but I'm just going to make this comment to Commissioner Rivers. Members of Pottstown and Commissioner Rivers, who I know to be a Christian, take these words, Proverbs 26:4 and 5. And I know you answered to one of the comments. Proverbs 26:4 and 5. Don't answer to the foolish arguments of fools, or you become as foolish as they are.
Yeah, just 2 things. And Commissioner Rivers, I do just want to say we stand with you. And I also, when folks have a problem with us and any decisions that we made, they need to come to us, not to a community. And I think it was abhorrent what was said in the last couple days. Now, my last thing is I want to mention that yesterday was Indigenous Peoples Day, a day to celebrate and honor the invaluable contributions and resilience of our area's first inhabitants and the tribal nations that continue to thrive today. I want to take a moment to honor and acknowledge the Indigenous communities that lived on this land long before us, including the Catawba, the Sugary, and the Chirrell peoples. Their rich history and culture are deeply woven into the fabric of our region, and it's important that we continue to recognize and respect their contributions, both past and present. Let us reflect on the significance of this day and commit to honoring the legacy and resilience of Indigenous peoples.
Thank you. And item number 12, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you.